कालीकुर्चसमायुक्तमायाकूटोपदेशतः प्रणवार्थप्रबोधिन्यौ नमामि गुरुपादुके श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। क्रीं मात्रे नमः। वासुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रं नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुं मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते। गुरुभ्यो नमः. Namaste. Namaskaram to one and all. We are continuing on with the Tattvabodha series. In the Tattvabodha, in the past 8 parts of the 8 episodes, what we have seen is about our own body, the various bodies that we have, that is the gross body, subtle body and causal body, and then how the 5 sheaths are divisible into these bodies, how the 5 pranas work in the body. All these things we have seen, and finally we said, just like I am wearing a watch, just like I am wearing a necklace, just like I am wearing earrings, those belong to me, and the Atma is actually wearing the body, the Atma is actually wearing the mind, the Atma is wearing everything, the pranas and the this one pranamaya kosha, everything, all the koshas it is wearing. Like that I can say it belongs to me, but it is not the self. We saw that. Now we are going to enter into the Brahmanda. What we saw is what is called as the Pindanda or the Pinda. That is, this Pindanda or the Pinda is the microcosm, the individual. This contains everything that is contained in the universe. It contains everything that is contained in the known universe. And apart from that, we are going to enter into the outside world right now and go all the way from the creation of the universe and then integrate the Pindanda and the Brahmanda finally. How they are integrated. So when we go into this, we need to understand that this has got nothing to do with the scientific theory. The class has got nothing to do with the scientific theory of creation, even though it is very hard for me to do, that is to connect the scientific theory of creation to this theory of ideological creation. But there are works existing which accurately map this scientific theory of creation to the actual Western scientific theory of creation. But that is not our work here. Our work here is to simply understand how the 3 gunas are causing the creation and how Maya is working to create the universe and how that is creating the body and how that is working inside the body. That is our purpose here, in order to remove the impediments caused due to these elements, in order to remove the ignorance caused due to this creation. So that is our purpose from a pure Vedantic perspective, and this is going to be very hard portion of the Tattvabodha, because so far we were able to easily relate to what we were speaking about, because it is all inside our body. Now we are going to speak outside the body, so it is a little bit harder than the previous section. So attention needs to be provided, and please listen to the video at least 2 or 3 times in order to understand. If you have the Tattvabodha text with the translation, great, you can read it and you can also follow. That will be very helpful. If that is not the case, then very well you can listen to the video itself, but you need to make sure that you are listening to it 2 or 3 times continuously in order to understand each concept. So that being said, let us proceed with the universe. So when we speak of the universe, we are speaking about 3 different aspects of the universe. One is the Jagat, another one is the Jiva, and the third one is the Ishvara. So the Jagat is the world, the Jiva is the individual, and when I say individual, not only individual human beings, individual stone to individual blade of grass to individual planets to individual galaxies. Everything that which is single identity, it is seeing itself as single identity, is called as a Jiva. So, and then these Jivas constitute the world. There are 2 types of Prakriti, nature. One is Chetana Prakriti and another one is Achetana Prakriti. Chetana Prakriti means conscious existence or conscious nature, all the objects, all the individual entities in the nature that which is conscious, and inanimate objects or unconscious objects, that which does not have a consciousness, that is Achetana. So this Chetana and Achetana together form this Jagat, And in this Jagat, we are only worried about the Chetana portion, because the Achetana portion only exists, like stones, mud, all these things only exists, and they don't have any evolution, they don't have any consciousness. But even amongst the Chetana Rupa, we are concentrating more on the human beings, because that is what we are, and we only worry about ourselves, our own evolution and our own mukti. So when this Chetana Prakriti, Jagat, is created by the constituent jivas or the constituent individuals, then there should be a creator for this, and this creator is what is called as Ishvara. So amongst, and how did this Ishvara happen? There is a very big misconception that many people have, that is, Brahman is the Ishvara or Ishvara is the Brahman. It is very easy to say Brahman is the ultimate God, so that created everything. It is very easy to say that. But what we need to understand is Brahman is attributeless, qualityless entity of being. It does not have any attribute, it does not have any form. We are simply naming it as Brihat, meaning big, the big. That's all, the big. We are unable to name anything else, so we are saying the big. Okay, so it is Anirvachaniya. It is the highest Anirvachaniya. It cannot be explained in words. And it does not have any Kriya. Clearly it does not have any action. So all this creation, destruction, all of these things, it cannot happen directly by Brahman. So we are going to see how this creation came to be when the Brahman is actionless. What came as action? We are going to see that, and we are going to see that in the form of 24 tattvas. Ata Chaturvimshati Tattvotpatti Prakaram Vakshyamaha. Ata, after this, after what? After seeing all the elements of the body, the individual, we are going to see the macrocosm right now after seeing the microcosm. And the Guru is saying, I am going to explain the 24 different dimensions, 24 different aspects or factors of evolution that shall be explained right now. Okay, so these 24, let us just name them, list them out to see what they are. Then we will see how each thing evolved of the 24 factors. Be very, very careful here. Listen very, very attentively. Do not listen to this video as a pastime, doing something else, cooking and listening to it, or just like listening to music. Don't do that. Please have the text with you if you have it. If you don't have the text, no problem. Sit and listen to this video carefully with single-mindedness. Only then you will be able to understand these concepts. That being stated, what are these 24 tattvas? The 24 tattvas are the 5 elements, or the 5 great elements. Great element means the element in its own form. Pancha Mahabhuta, 5. And then Pancha Jnanendriya, 5 organs of perception. And then Pancha Karmendriya, 5 organs of action. Okay. And then Pancha Prana, the 5 pranas. And Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chittam. So these are the 24 elements. 5 elements, and then 5 elements, and then 5 Karmendriya, 5 Jnanendriya, and then the 5 pranas, and finally Manobuddhi, Ahankara, Chittam. So this makes 24. Now you may ask a very simple question. See, this is the same list you gave previously, right? That is, you said Panchikrita Panchabhutaihi Kritam when we are speaking about the Stula Sharira, and then you said Panchikrita Panchabhutaihi Kritam when you are speaking about the Sukshma Sharira, and then Karana Sharira you said it is ignorance, and in the when we are speaking about the 5 sheets you said Manas and then Buddhi. Only Chittam and Ahankaram is missing there. So almost we achieved those 24 elements there itself. Why are you again speaking about them? Again you are only speaking about the individual. You are not speaking about the cosmos. This is the opponent view to this particular point. The answer to this is very, very simple. That is, fire inside the body is existing only because fire is created in the universe. So we are analyzing the creation of the fire in the universe and how that fire became our how that fire became our organ of perception, the eyes. Okay, that Krishnadhara Agravarti, how that came to be here in this Indriya, and then how this fire mixed with the other four elements in a certain proportion and became the body heat. So our aim here is not to purely analyze the universe. If you purely analyze the universe, that is becoming external study, like cosmology or this thing, astrophysics, whatever you might want to call it. It becomes the study of some external object. That is not the purpose of Vedanta at all. Whatever Vedanta is studying, whatever Vedanta is exploring, it will always explore it with only one single purpose, that is to prove that everything else, that which is outside you, that which is outside the Atma, is not the Atma. So it only concentrates on the individual evolution and liberation, and that is the reason why even when speaking about the universe, we are only trying to integrate the universe, that is the Brahmanda, to the Pindanda, and that is why the tattvas of the Pindanda or the tattvas of the microcosm is what is actually explored as the evolution of the universe itself. I know this is very, very hard to understand. Let me give you an analogy here. For example, you are eating ice cream. Ice cream becomes a part of your body. It is there inside your stomach. So, but the body did not create ice cream. It came from outside. It came from outside. How did it come from outside? It was created outside. It was created by external world. And when you take it inside your body, it becomes a part of your body. Then it gets assimilated into your system. Similarly, these five elements, they are created outside. How and why they are created, that question we are going to answer. And then how they mixed together and became a part of this being. So what are we going to achieve by doing this? This is the ultimate question. What are we going to achieve by doing this? For example, I am wearing this shirt. So I know that this shirt is not my skin. How do I know that? I know this because I went to a shop, I gave money, and that fellow gave me the shirt. There was a time where I was without this shirt, and there will be a time where I am going to be without this shirt. Similarly, when I understand that the Panchamahabhutas are something that I borrowed from outside and I have to give it back there, I understand that I am not the Panchamahabhutas. And, and when I say I am not the Panchamahabhuta, what am I reinforcing here? I am reinforcing I am not the Panchamahabhuta. That means neither the nascent Panchamahabhuta nor the mixed Panchamahabhuta, grossified Panchamahabhuta. What do I mean by this? This means I am not the five elements in their natural state. Neither am I the five elements in their grossified state. That means I am neither the Sukshma Sharira nor the Stula Sharira. Now, previously, at the end of the my analysis of the microcosm, end of the analysis of the self, we saw that the Atma is the only truth. Everything else is not true. And when we are analyzing the macrocosm, we are going to see that the Brahman is the ultimate truth. That the Brahman is the ultimate truth, and everything else is not true. Everything else is Maya. Everything else is the product of Maya. So when we see these two things, we come to one particular decision or one particular area. Final thought. That is, previously when I was analyzing the body, the microcosm, I understood that the Atma is the only truth and other things are not the truth. Now when I am analyzing the macrocosm, I see that Brahman is the only truth. So are there two truths existing or only one truth existing? When you come to this question, that is the ultimate Advaita that will say Brahman and Atma are one. Jiva is only the reflection of Ishvara. Atma is only the reflection of Brahman. And what is Jagat? Jagat is Maya. Similarly, what is this Pindanda? This Pindanda is also Maya. That is what we are going to prove. That is what we are going to achieve by analyzing each one of these integrated elements, integrated factors of evolution. Okay. So, I don't know how I am going to split this up. I don't know how I am going to split this up and take the episode, present it to you, because everything has to be repeated in order to understand the second portion. So we will somehow achieve that through some visual aids or something, not in this video, in the future videos. We will see. First of all, Maya. We are going to see what is Maya. Okay. Brahmashraya Sattva Rajas Tamo Gunatmika Maya Asti. This is the definition that Tattvabodha is giving for Maya. And Maya is a Srilinga Sabda, that is, she is a woman. This one. She is a woman, and the first quality that they are giving is Brahma Ashraya. She is standing on Brahman. She is formed on the basis of Brahman. Brahman is the substratum of Maya. That is the first thing that they are saying. This single photo, this single portrait has got the entire Advaita Tattva in it, has got the entire Upasana Tattva in it, and this form can be used for contemplation in Vedanta, and that is the reason why our Kaulachara tradition, the tradition that I belong to, of this Bhayankari Upasana, is strongly parallel to Vedanta. This portion of Sri Vidya is strongly parallel to Vedanta, and you have to learn Vedanta hand by hand in order to understand each tattva of the Devi. And that is the reason why, instead of simply doing Shakti Upasana, playing with the energies and going in that route, achieving things going in that route, the very strong grounding in Vedanta is also required for evolution when you are worshipping her. And that is how I learnt Vedanta. From here, and then from here. Where? Here. So, that is how I learnt Vedanta. Now, the beauty here is Brahma Ashraya. The substratum of Maya is Brahman, depending on the Brahman. And then, Sattva Rajas Tamo Guna Atmika. So, Atmika means she is the substratum for the three gunas. She is the nature and the substratum of the three gunas, which is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So, the Brahman, Maya is the affluence, or Maya is the radiance of Brahman. And when the Brahman is moving, Maya happens. But Brahman can't move. So Maya is as primordial as Brahman. They are one and the same. The dynamic aspect of Brahman is Maya, and the static aspect of Maya is Brahman. You cannot separate them. This is the most complete definition of the Advaita, the starting point of Advaita, and that is available only to Shakti Upasakas. And in a way, the predominant aspect of Adi Shankara in terms of Shanmata, many people will not agree. The predominant aspect of Adi Shankara, as far as I am concerned, as far as we are concerned, is predominantly Shakta. The largest works of Shankara, apart from Vedanta, in terms of worship, in terms of Murti Pujana, belongs to the Shakta school, in terms of shlokas and other things. So, when this Shankara Advaita is being explained to you in Tattvabodha, the easiest way in which we can relate to it in terms of practice is by Shakta Upasana. Self-insert, advertisement, promotion, whatever you want to call it, you call it. I am openly telling it and doing it. So, basically, So basically, this Satchidananda Swarupa, we saw that Atma is Satchidananda Swarupa, and also Brahman is Satchidananda Swarupa, because they are one and the same. Now, where does this Satchidananda Swarupa come from? This Satchidananda Swarupa came to Brahman, that which is Sat, the Chit of Brahman is Maya. The will of Brahman is Maya. Or Maya gives will to the Brahman, or the will aspect of Brahman is created when Maya is manifesting herself from Brahman. Either way. So, when this happens, when the Brahman and Maya are merging together, Ananda happens. When Shiva Shakti Aikya is happening, Ananda happens. That is the reason why when we saw the what is the function of the genitals, this question was asked. Where was this asked? When we were seeing the Pancha Karmendriyani. Ananda iti is the answer to that. That is Ananda. There it is in the sense of physical sex or whatever, okay, but here that Ananda is same as this Ananda. The cosmic union is the function of Ananda of the Brahman itself, whereas the physical union is the function of the body, and that is also called Ananda. That is the word that is used there. Now please don't combine any of this portion with all this tantric sex and other nonsense, because that is grossification of this concept and misinterpretation of this concept. There is no place for the physical union in the spiritual evolution. Let me make that very, very clear. That is for the function of progeny, that is for the function of reproduction, for either going through or avoiding and crossing that barrier. That is a different subject altogether. But this Aikya, this Aikya of the Sat and the Chit produces Ananda. So for that, the Sat and the Chit has to differentiate from one another. The Sat is the Brahman, Chit is the Maya, and the Ananda is the Aikya of these two things, and they are always together. That is the reason why they are always in the state of Ananda. And Ananda is also eternal, and that is the Swarupa of the Brahman Maya complex. Whenever I say Brahman, we may refer it to as only Brahman, but right now Maya is existing. That is the reason why we are sitting and speaking all these things. If Maya does not exist, if Maya merges itself into Brahman, then everything will go. Absolutely everything will go. So that is the reason why whenever we are saying Brahman, in our mind we need to understand Brahman Maya complex. Similarly, whenever we say body, we need to understand mind-body complex. Whenever we say mind, we need to understand mind-body complex. Similarly, whenever we say Brahman, we need to understand Maya and Brahman complex. Complex meaning together, existing together, that group. That is how we need to remember. And whatever equation we are using them in, that is how we are giving the value to that. So that being stated, we will see what is Maya. Ya ma sa Maya. Ya, that which, ma, not there, does not exist. Sa Maya, that is Maya. That which does not exist is Maya. This is the definition that Vedanta is giving. Because people say Maya is ignorance, Maya is illusion, all these things. This is true on a very basic level. On a very, very basic level, we can say Maya is illusion. But Maya is not just the illusion like the mirage in the desert. When you go near, it goes. It is not like that. Maya is a functional entity. Then why are you saying that which does not exist? Because we are saying Brahman is the only true existence and Maya is the ascribed existence or the projected existence. So we say it does not exist. In reality, in the ultimate reality, only Brahman is existing. So we say that which is not is Maya. But at the same time, we are going to attribute the Avarana Shakti and the Vikshepana Shakti to Maya. So what is Avarana? Avarana Shakti is the creation, power of creation. So, Avarana Shakti is the power of veiling, of putting the screen. So, Avarana Shakti meaning, Avarana means screen. like we have sheaths in the body, like when you look at a person, you are looking at him based on his Annamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Jnanamaya Kosha and Anandamaya Kosha. So this is what you are seeing. You are not seeing the Atma when you are seeing the person. Similarly, when you are looking at the Jagat, you must see Brahman. Instead of seeing Brahman, you are seeing so many forms. And these forms are caused because of this Avarana Shakti, or the veiling power, or the screen putting power of Maya. Then there is something called as Vikshepa Shakti. Vikshepa Shakti is the projecting power. So projecting power is the power that is projecting the Nama Rupa. We need to understand it like this. When you are looking from here to there, you are seeing a screen. Okay, how did that screen come to be? Somebody put that screen there. So not only hiding but also projecting. That is also the work of Maya. And Vikshepa Shakti also has another portion to it, that is, it will also move and show the truth to you. Projecting means the opposite is also possible, isn't it? When you are hiding something and when you are projecting something else, it is also possible to reveal and to remove the projection. So it is only through Maya, only through Avidya and Vidya together will we be able to realize. There is no possible way to reach Brahman without the help of Maya. We are saying we have to remove Maya, we have to leave Maya, destroy Maya. All these things very hardcore Vedantis will say. But when you ask them, are you so powerful to destroy Maya? Then they will be like, no, I am not challenging like that. Because if I challenge like that, then I know what Maya will do to me. Because Maya has done so much to even the Vedic Rishis. So I don't want to challenge like that. I will do surrender like this, and I will say, Amma, please make sure that you are removing your Maya and you are showing me the Brahman. That is what the Vedantis, even Saivites will say that. Nobody can challenge Maya because it has got these two Shaktis called as Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. And also, it is the Trigunatmika. She is the Trigunatmika, meaning she is the substratum for the Sattva Guna, for the Rajoguna and the Tamoguna. And when she is alone with Brahman, when Maya is alone with Brahman, what is happening? 1 by 3, 1 by 3, 1 by 3, equal Sattva, equal Rajas, equal Tamas. This is what was previously existing, and this is what will be existing after the Pralaya. But something happened. Tamas increased little bit, Rajas increased little bit, Sattva increased little bit. I am sorry, in the reverse order. Sattva increased little bit, then Tamas increased little, Rajas increased little bit, Tamas increased little bit. Like that, variation started to happen out of the will for creation, and then the creation happened. How was the Sattva Guna increased? How was it formed and how was it increased? How was the Rajoguna formed and Rajoguna increased? How was the Tamoguna formed and Tamoguna increased? What did Sattva Guna create in this universe? What did Rajoguna create in this universe? What did Tamoguna create in this universe? So these are the things that we are going to see in the future chapters. And we are going to see how these 24 entities are nothing but the increase and decrease of various gunas. When the Sattva Guna of the, when Maya is increasing Sattva Guna, certain things will happen. When Maya is increasing Rajoguna, certain things will happen. When Maya is increasing the Tamoguna, certain things will happen. And all of these things will combine with one another, and this existence will be formed. We are going to see in detail how this is happening in the future chapters. I know this is very confusing, because this is some high-end logic that I am giving you. Please listen to it again and again. Try to remember the terms, take notes and learn this if you are serious about learning Tattva Bodha through this class. So that being said, we will end this video, and please share it in certain groups and other places, because unique perspective, Shakta perspective Tattva Bodha is very rare to find, and I am giving it to you based on my Guruji's blessing and my Guruji's grace, Ambal's grace. I am giving it to you. So please share it in groups, share it with aspirants who want to learn Vedanta, and it will be a great service that you can do to Vedanta and to our Dharma. तच्चं योरा वृणीमहे गातुं यज्ञाय गातुं यज्ञपतये दैवी स्वस्तिरस्तु नः स्वस्तिर्मानुषेभ्यः ऊर्ध्वञ्जिगातु भेषजं शन्नो अस्तु द्विपते सञ्चतुष्पते ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। नमः सदसे श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः।